Well, how's everybody? It's a beautiful Saturday morning in the fall, and I'm out here doing some tillage, and I found something that I thought was interesting, and I just wanted to kind of give everybody a chance to see it. And so we're doing a little bit of tillage. On our farm we don't do a lot of tillage, but in this particular field it's got some combine ruts. It stays fairly wet, and so we got some combine ruts here, and we just want to smooth that ground out, just much like when the road grader goes down the road and smooths your road from the potholes. That's all we're trying to do here. We're not going deep. There's a lot of microbes in the soil, and we want to try not to disturb that structure as much as we can, but for the betterment of the top of the field and our equipment, we're just trying to smooth that out. So as you can see, this field was in corn before, and you can see we had a pretty decent stand of corn. We picked this a couple weeks ago, and you can see we got some good residue. You can see the corn there in a row. You can see between the rows we don't have a lot of weeds. It stayed fairly clean. We got a little few there, but for the most part, this was a very productive corn. We grew some corn here that helped feed the world in one way or another. But what I really want to show you is over here. You can see this patch here of just weeds. And so on this nicer field of corn, we killed the plants, the weeds that were here, planted the corn, and then we put a pre-emerge down so weeds wouldn't come up. And over here, it was too wet in the spring to plant or spray. And so this is what the field would have looked like if we wouldn't have ever used any chemical. And so as you can see, we've got pigweeds and all kinds of broadleafs and grasses coming, and just not productive at all, And as far as being a steward to the land, like most farmers want to be, I know that's something we strive for here on our farm, and this is not, in our minds, good stewardship of the land, just letting it grow up in weeds. And so the weeds did some good things for us. They put the roots in the ground. They provided the microbes something to eat on. They did help with the structure of the soil. But unfortunately, now there's lots of weed seeds that we have to deal with and do something with, and more weed seeds mean more plants for next year. So if we can keep those weeds, noxious weeds, bad weeds from growing, less seeds, and hopefully continue to cut our chemical use down and down and down. And I don't think there's any farmer that would argue with me that we would love to use less and less chemicals in our everyday operations. But because of the contrast between this and that, this is why. Now, yes, a corn plant would have grown in this had we been able to get our equipment in here to plant it. But if you can imagine, all these weeds would have been in competition with that corn plant for nutrients and sunlight. And if these weeds would have got up above that corn plant and taken its sunlight and started robbing its nutrients, we would have had corn plants that were 4 feet tall instead of corn plants that were 6 and 10 feet tall. And so that is something that that plant that we want to grow, it can't have the competition of all this if it's going to produce food to help feed the world. And that is something else, if we're talking about chemicals, as you can see out here, I'm sure people think we can spray truckload and truckload and truckload on the chemical on this, but that's not the truth. Not even at all. In fact, the goal is to keep the ground clean until your corn plant can get up tall enough that it robs the sunlight and it robs the nutrients from those smaller noxious weeds, so they don't get ahead of it and take it out, and then we don't have to control it with a chemical at that point. And that's the goal here. But if we let things go like this, that corn plant is going to get out competed, and it is going to produce very, very little compared to some here. So just something I thought was interesting. Right here is that line. You can tell exactly where we were able to control and where we weren't. And so, like I said, we're trying every day to use less chemicals on this side, but we can't just quit cold turkey, or we're going to have stuff like this. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. If you have any questions, just reach out, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.